Welcome to the Engineering Day and to the lab tours. This is the University of Illinois Chemical Engineering lab tour. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually in the lab right now. This lab is it's the chemical engineering lab that is for the seniors. So it's a 2-semester course where you do 12 experiments. You do 6 each semester. And so it's all doing hands-on experiments with large pieces of equipment like distillation columns and heat exchangers and evaporators. So I thought it would be interesting. I'm in the lab right now. I thought I'd give you a little quick tour of it. So let me see. Here's our other part here. So it's a relatively large lab, and it has a bunch of equipment in here. So like here, okay. So let me start with our first piece of equipment. This is our distillation column. So the students, one of the big chemical engineering principles is separations of vapors and liquids. And so we use a distillation column here. This is, you can put in about 5 gallons of a solution. We use ethanol and water. And then what we do is we set it and we boil it. That's the boiler right there. And then it comes up the column, and then we can separate it out into to high purity ethanol. Okay, so this is a very common chemical engineering process that's used in industry. So it's a very nice piece of equipment. We actually have, if you take a look here, let's get that started here. We actually have like a little screen that has a little diagram, and we can actually control the system with this module here. Okay, so that's one of our pieces of equipment. Here's another one here. This is another important chemical engineering process. It's called gas liquid absorption. So we have this column here that you can see. That's filled. It's a plexiglass column, and it has these little beads in it. They're plastic, and what we do is we take air, and we have carbon dioxide in the air, and it actually so carbon dioxide is a contaminant, and we want to remove it. So what we do is we fill up this tank with water, and we pump the water to the top of the column, and then the water comes out, and it percolates down into the column. And as it's doing that, the air is coming out from the bottom here. The air is going up. And so the water actually picks up the carbon dioxide from the air and removes it. So this is a separation process that's used in industry for other types of gases or contaminants that we want to remove from a system. We have other things here. So let me show you. This is a nice little 3D model of let's see if I can get that right. There we go. Of a chemical plant. So our seniors, they do a senior design project their last year. And this one is a methanol to olefin plant. So they actually do the design work. They talk with industry engineers. And then part of the process is they actually build this little model, and they actually use 3D printing to do this. So you can see it's pretty cool. They've got these little reactors and separators and things on here. Okay. You can see, just quickly, this is our classroom right here. We have this window between the classroom and the laboratory so that when students are in the class, they can see the lab going on actually. So we have some other experiments. We have a membrane separator. So this one here is a set of columns. You can see these columns up here, these gray columns here. We take air from this cylinder here and push it through the column, and it actually separates into oxygen and nitrogen. So it's a process. It has these little, you can see the inside of those modules are these little fibers here. And so this is where the separation occurs. Okay, moving on, let me go quickly to, this is a really cool experiment. This is an ultrafiltration column. So this is a column here, this yellow column. It has these microfiber filters in it. And what we do is we take, we fill up this tank in the back with milk, a gallon of milk, and then we dilute it with water. And then we pump it. We have a pump here, and we pump it through the system, and we remove the water from the milk. So this, again, this is a process that's used in industry. If you think of, if you've ever had a protein drink, you know, protein drinks are using proteins like milk proteins. And how do you concentrate those milk proteins? Well, you do a separation process like this. Okay, so we have some other experiments. We've got our, this is our heat exchanger. So this is a vessel here that we fill with water. And the outside of it, you can see this little diagram here. The outside here has steam that comes in, and the steam actually heats up the water in the inside. So the students are doing experiments on figuring out how much heat it takes to optimize the heat transfer in this system. Here's another experiment that we have. This is our evaporator. So here we have an evaporation unit here that we fill with sugar water. And so think again of another food application. Think of orange juice concentrate, you know, the frozen orange juice concentrate that you have. That is actually a, you know, it's orange juice where the water was removed. Okay, so how do you remove the water? Well, you can boil it, right? But if you boil it, you're gonna ruin the taste of the orange juice, right? So what we can do is we can use an evaporator where we use a pump here, a vacuum pump, this blue pump over here. It provides a vacuum on the system. So we load up our orange juice, or in this case, our sugar water. The vacuum applies a lower pressure. Lower pressure means a lower boiling point. So now we can boil at a lower boiling point, and then our solution doesn't degrade. So this is a process here where the students, they boil the sugar water, the water out of the system. They collect it in these little flasks, these Erlenmeyer flasks, and then they get the process parameters out of it. So, okay, so let's see. And if you have any questions, just put it on the chat, and then I'll answer any questions. So here's because of the pandemic, we actually, I moved this piece of this experiment in front of the other one. So these are actually two experiments here. The one that I'm showing here, this is our pipe flow. So again, for chemical engineers, it's important to understand how how liquids move through pipes. So we do a set of experiments with different lengths of pipes of different diameters. The other experiment that's in front of it is called a fluidized bed. So a fluidized bed is another really important chemical engineering process that's used in industry. The bed is, again, this column here. There's nothing inside right now, but what we usually put is we put some kind of particles in this. So if you can see here, we have these little particles here. Okay, the particles are usually reactive, so they're some kind of what we call a catalyst. So the catalyst, if you put in certain chemicals that you want to react to form some other useful product, they will react on this catalyst. But what we want to do is we want to generate some motion in this column here. So that's why it's called a fluidized bed. We actually take air. So we bring in air through this point right here, our regulator here, and the air comes down to the bottom here, and it comes up the column. And again, this is all physics. You know, if you have enough force of air, it will lift the column of particles and it'll start moving them up and down. And so then you get this really nice mixing of liquid or of air and the solid particles and the reactants that you're trying to react. So this is, again, as a very important process. So let me move on to here. So let's see. We actually, for the lab, we actually had the lab in November. So we gave different safety glasses to all our students so that everybody was safe. This is another unit. This is a humidification column. So, think of a humidifier. What we do is we take air and we humidify it by pouring water through this column. The water is on the top, and then it comes down the column here, down the outside of the column. The water or the air comes up through the middle and picks up the moisture from the water, and then we can humidify our air. And then finally, the last experiment that we have here is called a liquid extractor. So this is, again, another important chemical engineering process for removing some material from another liquid. Okay, so in our case, we do a simulation of this. We have a large 25-gallon tank of baby oil, basically. It's called mineral oil. So here's our 55-gallon drum of the mineral oil. We have this here. We contaminate it with vinegar or acetic acid, and then we run it through this liquid extractor, where we have the water and oil go into these mixer areas where you can see the mixer, the impeller, the rotating impeller. So that mixes the water and oil, and what happens is the vinegar likes to be in the water more than it likes to be in the oil. So it separates out, and then it goes into this settling tank here. And of course, as we know, from like salad dressings, you have water and oil. The oil and the water separate because they're different densities. So you can get the separation of the oil and the water. The acetic acid goes into the water and gets removed from the oil. So the students do a set of experiments on this. There's 3 of these mixer settlers that are together, and then they get the product out of here. So that is a quick overview of our lab. Important principles behind chemical engineering. So again, chemical engineering, you might not know a lot about what chemical engineering is. I like to say that it's it's taking raw materials and making useful products out of them. And so that can be anything from, traditionally like taking petroleum and making gasoline and jet fuel and plastics. But it can also be, cosmetics. You can take raw materials and then process them to make some kind of, some useful hair product or something, or foods. Foods is another area. Medical, pharmaceuticals is another area that chemical engineers get involved with as well. So let's see here. Let me see if I can slide. So, but anyways, the PowerPoint slide is, it was just kind of showing a little more about what chemical engineers do, some of the different areas that we get involved with. We actually have some professors here that are doing work in like COVID research, actually. So one professor is looking at a method of detecting the protein that on the virus. So coming up with better ways of detecting the virus using like nanomaterials. We have another professor who's doing work with what's called nanoparticles for drug delivery. So again, this is useful. This is one of the things that really made the vaccine work is they use these things called lipid nanoparticles that the vaccine, this mRNA messengers that are part of the vaccine in order to get it into your body. So they use these nanoparticles to get in. So that was a huge development that helped us with the vaccine. So those are some areas that people are getting involved with. We have some other professors that are doing work in renewable energies and environmental things like coming up with an artificial leaf to extract carbon dioxide out of the air. So this is a big area, of course, because of global warming. So a lot of cool things that you can do with chemical engineering as a degree. Let's see if I can go. So here, let me see if this works. What is chemical engineering? While science is the creation of new knowledge, engineering is using that knowledge to solve problems. And look around. Every part of this world is made of chemicals. So chemical engineering is all about solving world's greatest challenges. As you can imagine, this makes chemical engineering pretty diverse. So let us now hear from the chemical engineering faculty at University of Illinois at Chicago about what chemical engineering is in terms of what they do.
It is building technologies that can help the world, like addressing the water crisis by designing high-efficient water purification technologies.
It is also about reducing greenhouse gases by designing artificial leaves that can capture CO2 from the air and convert it to fuel for your cars.
It is catering to the world's demands by designing chemical plants for large-scale production of consumer products, new materials, and medical devices.
It is also about creating next-generation nanotechnologies. For example, building electronic, optoelectronic, and biomedical devices with materials only one atom thick.
It's designing new nano and micro materials for biomedical applications.
It's about training the next generation of entrepreneurs to address major global challenges such as clean energy and clean water through innovation and successful technology commercialization strategies.
It is using the building blocks of chemical engineering, thermodynamics, reactions, and the unit operations of heat, mass, and fluid transfer to successfully turn raw materials into useful products.
And it's designing efficient processes safely, sustainably, and economically.
Chemical engineering students at the University of Illinois at Chicago experience life in the big city of Chicago while they study in our new engineering innovation building with state-of-the-art facilities as they get ready to solve world's greatest challenges. If you want to make a difference in determining the future of energy, the environment, and sustainability, foods, pharmaceuticals, polymers, electronics, and many other products that we use every day, consider a major in chemical engineering. You will have a rewarding career.
Hi, my name is William Rawson, and I'm the captain of the Chemi Car team for the University of Illinois at Chicago. The name of our car is the Hot Rod version 2. It is uniquely designed to be powered by a lead-acid battery and stop through an iodine clock reaction.
We designed a custom lead-acid battery with custom lead plates, and we have membranes for the battery separators, and it's filled with a 30% sulfuric acid solution. The battery is connected to a small motor and gearbox that will power our car to victory.
Our stopping mechanism is an iodine clock reaction, which is a reaction that turns from clear to black, and that change in light intensity is measured by a photoresistor. Once the light intensity changes, a relay cuts the power from our battery to the motor.
One of our unique features is a custom-built quarter-size steering mechanism.
This was made by gluing a tiny magnet to a Raspberry Pi fan. The entire base is entirely custom built, and almost all the components of our car were designed to be 3D printed or laser cut.